Head football coach Matt Rhule met with the press and had some details about the transfer portal, about who's coming, who's going, and we get to talk about commitments.
You are Locked On Huskers, your daily podcast on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey gang, DP here, Locked On Huskers. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every single day. Greatly appreciate you for hanging out with me. If you have subscribed, thank you. Job well done. If you have not, take a moment and hit the subscribe button so you get this content, your Huskers, each and every single day. Before we get too far into this thing, super producer Rico, if you would please, let them know about PrizePicks.
Thanks, DP. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They're the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. With the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LeBron James and Travis Kelce at a 10.5 combo of 3-pointers made and receptions. PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For a football or basketball game, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and doesn't return in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege for your first deposit match up to $100. Back to you, DP.
Thanks, Rico. And over the course of this episode, again, Matt Rhule meeting with the media folks and providing some information on what's going on. Of course, he spent some of his time meeting with coaches and kind of describing, detailing that the intent and purpose was not to make final decisions, but just kind of check in with, okay, how do you think things went? What are the things you did well? What are the things that need improvement? Where are you in this process? And of course, addressing the elephant in the room when it comes to changes being made. But he said that's not. He wasn't ready to go into that discussion and talk about those things. Mentioned a couple of players who would move along and some folks who were seniors, but some underclassmen who, quite frankly, were done with this thing called college football. And those names will change over the course of the next couple of weeks, I would imagine, especially after Matt Rhule talks to the full roster. And he said the group coaches will meet with each player, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Some of it may roll into Monday. They'll talk to them about, again, their place in the program, their growth in the program, what kind of year they had, what are the things that need to happen. And exit interviews are always pretty interesting because there are some surprises. There's some players who think they're in good standing. They find out, well, maybe not. There's some players who think that they're in jeopardy, and they go, no, not really. And then from that, it will help Matt Rhule figure out, look, how many scholarships does he really have looking forward? What positions are filled? Which rooms need attention? And as we talked about in yesterday's episode, a big thing will be to determine which groups need the most attention. And that's a relevant thing. And that's what sparked today's conversation for me, was that thinking that there are some positions of full need, but that some of those we don't know. We really don't know, and I'm not sure that Matt Rhule knows that how it will play out. Some players, I would imagine that when he meets with them, they will come to some mutual understanding and thinking about their place in Nebraska's football program. And in their lives, right? Because there'll be some that just say, you know what, I'm done with this. Or, you know what, I need to go somewhere I can play, or somewhere I can be developed, or anything. There's a whole variety of reasons. But one of the rooms that came up for me was the receiver room has questions. And if you want to, again, the status and the standard of a program and a room is how many questions you have about it. And Matt Rhule talked about Marcus Washington and that, maybe once he heals, but then there's some hoops you have to jump through, which may not always may be positive. There are things that they're going to find out in the next few days about who's willing, who's able, and then who was a part of the plan. But the receiver room requires some additional power, and one of those things in place. So for those that have committed to Nebraska's football program so far, that one of them is a legacy. One of them is the son of somebody I would consider a Nebraska great, a Husker great. And the son of Ken Clark, the late, great Ken Clark, has committed to Nebraska. So Quinn Clark from Bozeman, Montana, committed. When it came on a couple of visits, again, he grew up with the program around him and surrounded by him in lots of the conversations. So he had familiarity with it. He also had some comfort in Lincoln, Nebraska, University of Nebraska, and what it would mean for him to be a Husker in the football program. He said the fact that, listen, I went to camp. We like each other. They like me. I like them. He accepted the fact that, maybe this is the place. Finally went on the official visit and then said, it just made sense for him to come here. So he's been around it again, 1980s for Ken Clark, who did his thing. But then you're trying to place him in this group. And if you said, okay, he's 6'2", 190 pounds, what do you get from it? And again, the bodies change, and we can kind of place it in the space of the recent folks. And there's, Jane Lloyd and Malachi Coleman, what they look like as high school seniors, and then what they look like 6 weeks into year one. And to see what this is, right? To see that, listen, he's familiar with the program. He feels comfortable in it, thinks he can play here. And the Huskers believed in him. So they jumped on board. They made the commitment, and then several conversations with Mom, as happens in this case, where Mom goes, you know what? There's no real reason for you not to commit. If that's, look, you like them, they like you, let's move it. And what he offers you as a receiver, again, and you have to remember that you're basing it on the high school level and what you see. But everything about it says, okay, he could play one of several positions for the Huskers. I think that Matt Rhule and Marcus Satterfield realized or recognized that they had what they need to do when it comes to receivers is have folks who can play multiple positions, can line up in any one of the positions, get open in any one of those positions, get separation while in any one of those positions. And some of that has to do with who's defending you, right? That sometimes a big, strong safety can get his hands on a little receiver in the slot and throw him off. But a bigger receiver can battle a little bit. Flexibility. Well, he checks all those boxes. Now, again, not signing anything into anything that hasn't happened yet. But he's committed to the University of Nebraska. That's the top addition currently to the wide receiver room. We'll talk more about the receiving room when we come back. And then we will also get into a couple of linemen that, for all intent and purposes, on a line where the line has been of question, having more young guns in the room certainly can't hurt at all. So we'll throw the break here. When we come back, we'll talk linemen and commitments here on Locked On Huskers. Hey, gang, DP here, Locked On Huskers. Through all of these things that we do, we have to thank the people who make this thing happen. So, super producer Rico, would you please let them know about LinkedIn?
Thanks, DP. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Back to you, DP.
Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciated. Again, the first player that we talked about, Quinn Clark, and what he brings to the table in addition to the receiver room. Size, length, speed, checks all the boxes, legacy, familiar with the program, somebody that will not only come to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, but wants to come here and understands what it's all about. So it's a big deal. But on the other side of this thing, right, that one of the rooms that we talked about yesterday in full was the offensive line. And listen, Nebraska has, if Benhart and Corcoran return, the same question for Ben Scott, that you're then trying to look around and figure out what pieces you have, and then you're building for the future. And the idea, Matt Rhule said that, listen, the transfer portal in his mind should be somebody that has multiple years available to them. So you're not only getting a young gun, but somebody with some playing experience at the Power 5 level, but somebody that has a couple of years left. Now, in the final segment, I want to be sure that we're going to talk about what he said the value was for some of those positions. But with the linemen, a couple of things in play. And the first lineman, that committed. Now, I have to preface this by saying that my affection for athletic big guys in on the football field, pretty exceptional, and it's pretty high. And what happens when you look at film and you look at tape, then you have to kind of have the palate cleanser, right? So to remove yourself from anything that you've seen similar to that, so that you can find a true similar to it, right? So when they say, I watched this tape and this is who it reminded me of, or this is where I could see them. Preston Tamua, look, size and athletic ability are things that pop off the page. They pop off the video. That there's certain people who do things so well that they become complete masters of that thing, and then let something else slide, something else that weakens them. And this is a young man that look, he was around. Like he took the Michigan tour, he took the Iowa tour. Like he went around. And what he decided was that he was going to play for the University of Nebraska. Now, when Taumua puts his hand in the grass, and same for Quinn Clark, and that he was the best in that position in his state. Taumua, the same thing is true. The best interior lineman, but he's look, where they play him, I won't get into that because parts of me sees him because of his athletic ability moving up and down. But at his size, that a natural 300-pounder, a clean 300-pounder, an athletic 300-pounder who actually can pull, and his ability to pull slightly opens the gate for me to consider for a second that, hey, maybe he can move inside. But he is a full-on road-chewing monster. So much so in his violence, which I'm going to celebrate his violence, because he is explosive, and explosive not only in his stance, in his get off from the snap, his shooting of the hands in an aggressive, purposeful direction, his footwork, and that he's got some dancer in him for 300-pounder at 17 years old. He can use the big feet, man. He can move the feet. And to see him get downhill on a linebacker or defensive end, when you watch his film, it really was pretty exceptional to watch somebody just be violent and enjoy it. Like, not everybody has that. There are big dudes who are big teddy bears. He may be a teddy bear, but what I can tell you is, young man, when he's about to punch you, he gets the feet down on the ground and he gets them locked into the turf, and then he is violently exploding through whoever's trying to defend him or impede him. And yes, you have, especially with linemen, you have to look at who they're playing. And then you would say, well, wait a minute. The caliber of talent he played against is still pretty good talent, because these are folks with good hands, good skills. They got their eyes in the right place. But here comes this big athlete to throw hands and slam hats. To say that you look and you're trying to measure, does he fit with Nebraska? Yeah, he fits. He's a run behind, pass block pro, communicates well with his teammates next to him. It's all pretty impressive. I would start to get excited about it, just from me to you. But it wasn't the only thing, because they're at 6'6", 280 pounds, from Logan, Iowa. Grant Bricks was also suited and man, he was called. He was called on. That Oklahoma, Kansas State, Iowa State all took a high level of interest in the young man. And so then you have to watch, right, what he does as an athlete. And what I like about him in particular is that his head, he's got really good eyes, that he identifies targets and then settles into making the strike, right? He's not wild. He's not off balance. He's not just muscling. Both he and Tamoa, both because of their purposeful aggression, their want to just, they can't wait to get their hands on a defender. That sometimes what will happen is, if you, again, I can't imagine how many 6'6", 280-pound defensive linemen he's going to face in Iowa from week to week. So some of the talent he was against, look, I mean, he's a big dude. He's a big dude. It looked like there are times for both he and Tamoa both lean a little and can be pulled off of their game. It is not the standard or the norm, but you can watch film and go, okay, you're leaning a little bit. A polished defensive lineman will snatch you up, throw you to the ground, or as Jay Foreman likes to say, he'll snatch you up and throw you out the club and then get to work. So both of these young men are athletic bigs. I can see them both on a basketball court. I can see them both playing other positions, moving up and down the offensive line. But what it says is that Matt Rhule and this coaching staff did a really good job in identifying two states' number one linemen and getting them to commit to the University of Nebraska. It is a big deal. It's a huge step. 2 4-stars in your commitment profile. Job well done, Huskers. Job well done. We'll toward the break. We'll come back. There's another commitment that could see themselves spending a lot of time next to either of those two young men we just mentioned. We'll talk about that tight end when we come back to Locked On Huskers. Hey kids, DP here, Locked On Huskers. Again, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for getting your Huskers each and every day. Your first watch. Your second watch should be Locked On Sports Today. Go find it on YouTube or however else you consume your podcast each day, specifically Locked On Huskers. Listen, the buzz in Nebraska about Carter Nelson is palpable. But we've recently been down that tour. We've done that dance. We've seen that movie. That a 4-star tight end, elite tight end. Now, he's the best in the state, right? Best in the state. But we've done that with several other tight ends. But it certainly helps knowing that the athlete that is Carter Nelson is coming to Lincoln, Nebraska to play tight end. Now, he'll have some lessons to learn. We watched that with Fedoni. We watched tight ends come into the Big Ten, and it is a high-profile, high-quality, high-intensity level for tight ends in the Big Ten Conference through Nebraska and other. But Carter Nelson was a great get, and the word on the street is that the young man is a positive workforce, that he will put in the work, that he loves what you're going to ask him to do, and he's coachable. And I can tell you, not all 4-stars get that. Not all 4-stars. Look, from a 4-star standpoint, some of that's just athletic ability. Some of that is, when it comes to tight ends, it's route running, it's blocking. But for them to check the box on both of those and saying, listen, a better than average route runner and a better than average blocker in confined space. Nebraska pulling this thing and getting Carter Nelson in the door, committed to the University of Nebraska, is a big deal. Those 4 young men, Quinn Clark, Grant Bricks, Preston Tamua, and Carter Nelson, while popular and aware, these 4 are going to have to get to work. And they bring big, long, deep tool sheds. Like they've got the tools. Then it becomes a matter of work. It becomes a matter of acclimation. But Nebraska went out and got 4 top players in different states. They played different positions, but Nebraska got them. Now the question becomes, when they get here, are they here to change the program? Are they here to be the program? There's a difference. Standards will be set and reset. That's why this stuff matters. It's why we talk about recruiting in the offseason. It's why we talk about transfer portal. Nebraska has been active. Now they just need to have it delivered. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every day. Super producer Rico, thank you, kind sir. We'll close with the 3 words we love so much. Go Big Red.